Thank you for that patience. The chair will now recognize as our last witness, Dr. Janine Pease, who is the founding president and faculty member at Little Bighorn College. Dr. Pease, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Leger Fernández. I am honored to present testimony today to this committee in favor of House Resolution 5444 to establish the Truth and Healing Commission on Indian boarding school policies. Balasha akchuagi de jitchesh, absaloke bia, shodaje, hinewabe akbarat dia kyonej. My name is one who loves to pray. I am a Crow Indian woman. I bring you greetings from Crow country. This is a beautiful day that our Creator has given us. I am past president of and current adjunct faculty in humanities at Little Bighorn College. As an associate faculty to the Crow Oral History Project, I have pursued over the last 5 years the stories of women and children from my nation. I also coordinate language revitalization projects for the Crow Language Consortium. But I want to tell you that I, like many other American Indian people, I am a descendant of boarding school students. My Hidatsa great-grandmother, Sarah Walker Pease, attended and graduated from Hampton Institute. She went there with 14 students, and while she was there, 7 of those 14 perished and are buried there. Sarah's 4th son, little Benny, was forced to go to Crow Agency school at the tender age of only 4 years. And he was beaten so badly that he died at the school. And we decorate his grave every Memorial Day. My grandparents, Tilly Whiteman Runsium and Ben Pease, attended the Crow Agency boarding school. And my grandpa, at an older age, went to Sherman Indian School in California, where he chose to run away because he objected so much to his treatment there. There is a story in our tribe of a grandmother who wanted to protect her grandson from being taken by the Crow police to Crow boarding school. I know this old lady. I knew her as a child. She was very elderly. She wanted to protect her grandson, so she went to the mountains. She and her grandson eluded the Crow police for almost 3 weeks, camping, moving, camping. And finally, Crow policeman Whitearm captured the little boy. She followed the policeman and her grandson to Crow Agency, a distance of 24 miles, set up her camp and put up her tent right next to the fence that was around the boarding school. From August to December, she watched her little grandson march from the dorm to the cafeteria to the classroom building, right up to the very frigid cold temperatures in Montana, sub-zero weather. Finally, she became convinced that her little grandson might survive the boarding school. Typically, we called the Crow Agency boarding school the mean place. Well, my reservation was served by many schools. We had 2 BIA boarding schools. We had a Catholic boarding school, St. Francis Xavier boarding school. We had a Unitarian boarding school. And we had 8 day schools later, starting in about 1904. So the Crow students, though, that went to Carlisle have definitely picked up my fascination, and I have studied them, learned about their data. In a general sense, it's difficult to get to the stories of women and children because typical histories don't always get to the faces and voices of men and women, often follow politics and economics. But my historical research has shown that there are many moving parts. Fortunately, in the case of Carlisle, there's a digital resource center, and that center provides basic data on all of the students who are enrolled. I was able to find out who the students were. I found out that 3 of our students who passed away are buried there. I found that 17 were discharged for serious illness, many of whom, almost all of whom, died within just a year or 2 of their return to the reservation. I have the advantage of having been able to interview children of Carlisle students and conducting interviews to understand what the conditions at Carlisle were. Careful investigation is what I think the commission will be about, to hear the voices, to see the faces, to understand the conditions that our children were subjected to. I would like to mention that in my career, I served on the Indian Nations at Risk Task Force. That was in 1989 to 91. Our task force chose to hold listening sessions to hear the voices of people who had very important things to say about Indian education. In a period of 2 years, we held hearings in 8 locations. Each one of the members of our task force held hearings in schools, community centers, and we listened very intently. And then we issued summary reports of all the voices that came forward. We also commissioned papers on special issues. I think a commission such as is being proposed could do this to bring the voices of people to this story.
Dr. Pease, thank you. We are over time, but I'll give you a few more to round out your testimony.
Thank you. The legacy of the Bureau of Indian Affairs boarding schools is bittersweet. Certainly the bitterness comes from the extreme distance Indian students had to endure from their homeland, from their loved ones, from their culture and their language. The bitter experience includes the loss of classmates and fellow tribal members who were students. Those who succumbed to diseases so debilitating that they took their life. It was bitter for the students whose stay at Carlisle was cut short due to severe illnesses, and they found themselves on trains as passengers to go home, and once they got home, they lost their lives. Of course, there's the sweet aspect of those who achieved, and we've talked already about the immense resilience that many of our people have shown.
Thank you, Dr.
To
Pease.
come away from those experiences. Thank you for the opportunity to present testimony in support of this legislation.